Happy Pride.
Yes, happy Pride.
Well, very
Thanks
welcome
for being here.
to the Sapphic World Book Club. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, we've been talking about Sweet Surrender, of course, for the first half hour, and we have a lot of questions waiting. But first, the fun part, JJ, is you're gonna have you have a giveaway for us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Tell us more about it.
So I'm going to give away a paperback copy of Sweet Surrender, and it'll be signed to whoever you want. And I'm happy to post it wherever you want it to go.
Oh, wow. That's nice. Okay, so if you've been here before, you know that we don't like very difficult well, matches, games, whatever. Just a number. You can guess a number between 0 and 50 and put it in the chat to Jess, our co-host. She's gonna make sure that the one that is closest to mine, yes, I wrote it down, um, will be the winner. So at the end, we're gonna go back to Jess. Okay. Jade, are you okay to take the first
Yeah, I'll start.
questions?
I'm actually going to just roll right into the last thing that we were talking about in book club. JJ, thanks for being here. We all have really enjoyed chatting about your book for the last 30 minutes, so we're having a lot of fun. The last thing we were talking about is the book being set in Ireland, and Ireland itself didn't feature very strongly in the novel. We were just kind of talking. I think Chelsea is the one who said something about sometimes the location or the setting is a character, and in this book, that's not necessarily the case. And we kind of hit on, as an author, you have to be able to market your books and, all of those things. And we're just kind of curious why you made it the way that it is with the relationship to Ireland in the story. Um, and yeah, just kind of how you landed on where we're at.
Um, a couple of reasons. I think part of it is definitely the marketing side of things, as in, I think Ireland isn't what people think it is all of the time. If somebody who doesn't live here is thinking about Ireland, they think of things very differently to how you do when you're just living here every day. So to me, I mean, it's just a place I've lived my whole life. Cork is a place I've lived my whole life. The places that I talked about, the characters going and stuff are real places here where they go. It's just a playground. It's just a store. It's just something. So to me, it was here, but like I didn't, I suppose, feature it too much in terms of like making it very Irish or very, because even I have to tone down some of the words I use or the language I use or stuff like that because people just don't understand it. In some of the books, there's been like, this doesn't make sense or that doesn't make sense. And if I were to make the book completely how I speak here or how things are here, yeah, I can imagine some of the feedback I would get because it just isn't, it isn't how people think it is. That's part of it. The other part of it is I hate research. So I don't like I'm not good at like I either want to make it up completely or kind of stick within the realm of what I know with a lot of stuff like that. So potentially I was thinking about writing it somewhere else in Ireland and stuff like that, but then I was like, maybe I'll go there, maybe I'll look around, we'll do this. But right now it's literally just the area that I live and this is it.
Hmm.
So that's mainly it. Laziness and and marketing.
We love the honesty here, so I appreciate that. And you are not alone. You're not the first author that we've heard say, "Yeah, I didn't do XYZ because I didn't want to have to research that deep enough to write that much about it." So I love it. I got a follow-up question about whether or not you have beta readers outside of Ireland to make sure that it's understandable across cultures.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't specifically the reason, but I do. I don't think I have any in Ireland to be perfectly honest. Because I mean, pretty much all of
I'm sure
my
you can manage.
circle are outside. Most people that I'm close with are either in the US or in the UK. So pretty much all of it's outside of Ireland. But yeah, I've got the Ireland part covered, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
And my
Awesome.
editor is great at that. Like my editor will say some things like, people mightn't understand this, you like this is the word we'd use and is it changeable or not? And sometimes I would say no, like, in one of my other books, when the kids were going to creche, she was like, "Oh, people won't understand creche like daycare," and I was like, "We would not use that word here at all, so I'm not using it. Like it's creche, that is the word we use here. Daycare would not make any sense for Ireland. So there's some things I will be like, nope, this is sticking to make it authentic to here. But other things, if they're kind of interchangeable, I'll just change it.
Can I just say that I love your t-shirt?
Oh, thank you.
You should put that in the shop because I think most people here want it.
I think our whole crew definitely needs one for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. So let's talk about the story that you've written about a nanny falling for a hot boss lady. How did this come about?
Um, the idea started with, there was two things. One, I really wanted to try and do a kind of one night to forever situation where they meet and kind of that's it. So that was kind of an inkling in my head. The other side was I was like, oh, I'd love to try and write an ice queen, which did not work fully. I was like, oh, I'd love to try and tackle an ice queen. And then as I started writing it, I was like, oh, she's just autistic. To me, that's what I ended up, kind of writing. But those were the kind of main things I had in my head first. That was the kind of idea. And I went in from there. But yeah, it just flowed. Honestly, it just all came together. But those were, yeah, the main starting points for me.
So if you I mean Eliza, would you think no, she's not an ice cream, right?
That
Not
was the
really.
plan. That was the plan originally. It didn't, as you can tell, go exactly to to plan.
What would
I
you
was like, she's too nice for it.
what would you have done differently?
Um, no, I think it went the way it should have gone. I think it was, I had an idea of what she was going to be like, but then when I wrote it, that wasn't her and it didn't fit. So I don't generally, my plans might start one way, but it just didn't fit with the character. And she was, as I started writing her and I started understanding more about her, it just wasn't her. So I had to just let that go, let that idea go away and continue the way it was.
I just said in the book club that I wrote the blurb and it says a nanny and a boss. And I was like, "Oh, really? Really? How are you going to make this interesting?" And then you did. How did you come up with this whole neurodivergence and the kids and how did that come about?
Um, I think with the kids I kind of always knew were going to be neurodivergent because I've just seen it time and time again. I suppose like the amount of times that you see kids being labeled as bad or as difficult or as, can't be managed or all of this, and it's like it's not the kids most of the time. It's not the kids that are the problem, right? It's people not understanding the neurodivergence. And like my son is autistic and my nephew is ADHD and um my three other nephews are also autistic. So we've a lot of neurodivergence in the group and in my family in general. And then a lot of people be like, if you say to somebody, they'll be like, oh, that must be hard. And I'm like, no. I mean, going through the assessments and going through all this process, I'm like, of course, the world is hard. The world is not designed for them. That's difficult, but like they're not hard. And they're like, oh, do they find this really hard? Do they find that really hard? And I'm like, I'm sure they would if we forced them to do this or that. But like we designed our house, we designed our life around the ways that work best for them. And so they're getting on great. And that was just really in my mind that I really wanted to show that in a story. I've written neurodivergence for the characters a lot, but I really want to show that from the point of view of children and how, you know, when people start understanding this or designing things in this way, that can change. So that's actually where that came from. Eliza and her neurodivergence was a bit of a surprise to me. When I was writing it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And obviously, as we know, it's very genetic, so it made perfect sense to the story as well as I was going, but it kind of emerged through the story as I was writing it. I definitely knew that I wanted Rowan's, story to be neurodivergent as well, because that's why she was so good at this. That's why she understood these kids. That's why she was able to connect very quickly and do her job so well. So yeah, that was that.
And I was thinking about it. I've got two neurospicy kids, as I like to call them. Neurospicy myself, my wife also. So it's neurospice galore in our household. And to me, this book almost felt educational. And I was like, okay, I need more to see what exactly does she do to those kids? What is she doing? Did you, well, you kind of tipped on it, but did you, intend to do that? To have that
Yeah,
effect?
I hoped so. I like my wife was actually a childminder for years before we became foster parents, and some parts would be like some of the children she'd minded similar situations where it was like unruly, not getting on at school, all this kind of stuff happening, and they used to say like, "Oh, she's just magic with them," and I'm like, "Or is she just doing things that they, working in the way that their brains?" Now she is magic with children, I will say that. But a part of it was just working things around the way that they needed to be worked. So it definitely a lot of it stemmed from that, and seeing that and just wanting to get some awareness out there of like, and I mean, I have three boys so at home, so I they drive me insane. Like neurotypical or neurodivergent, all kids will drive you crazy at times. It's not you're not going to be perfect. I end up killing them, and then I'm like, oh, I know it's just because they're overwhelmed or because of this or because of that. We all still lose our shit. Let's be real, but it's it's trying to bring that back, and I really hoped that in writing some of this in the book that people might just think, or might just open their eyes a little bit to, oh, maybe there is something there, or maybe I could explore something this way. Um, so I'm glad it did do that for some people.
So maybe you can write a real educational book.
Not my wheelhouse, too much research.
Yeah.
Well, you have the experience of your wife and then your own experience.
Yeah. No.
No, damn it.
Um,
I've tried.
no, we did get a question that's kind of in this vein, specifically the neurodivergence and research. This book, the neurodivergence is a big subject in this book, but also it's a shared topic in a lot of your other books. And you have said that you don't really like doing a whole lot of research. So how, other than your personal experience, or do you feel like your own personal experience and research um, really gave you all of the tools you needed to bring that to life in the story?
I suppose I don't like research when it feels like research. Let me put it that way. As the way our brains work, I will hyper focus on stuff and will consume a lot of information if it's something I find interesting. And I'm a foster parent as well, so I've done other like I did a trauma informed parenting training, and I did a lot of these different types of things that I think fed into my knowledge, and it was honestly a lot of them like I did them to help the kids, but really it was like, oh wow, this explains so much about me, or this explains my childhood, or like most of the time when parents are going through this, they think they're learning to help their kids. Really, they're learning to unlearn their own shit and help themselves so that they can then parent. Most of the time that's what it is. And I think that a lot of my research has been that. Plus, I mean, real life, my whole family are neurodivergent, pretty much all of them, and friends and everything. And so there's a lot of that. I mean, I'm very careful to be clear that like my experience is my experience, and you're never if you're never going to have two neurodivergent people who are the exact same or have the exact same experience. So I try to be careful and clear on that as well. Like, if you read my book and you relate to something, great. If you don't, that doesn't mean you don't have your own experience. That's completely authentic.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do some research on it. But I suppose the areas I focus more on are the ones that I've personal experience with.
Yeah. I think you and I have talked briefly before about neurodivergence in kids, maybe at GCLS.
Yeah,
And so
probably.
that was kind of my gut instinct. I'm also neurodivergent, and all three of my kids are as well. And yeah, the amount of research that I have done for my own life, my own self, my own
Yeah.
children, I could also probably write a book. So, yeah,
Kids will
that
do
makes a
it.
lot
There
of
you
sense.
go.
Yay.
Oh, I don't know about that. I do have a question that's kind of a little bit in a different direction. We touched on a little more earlier that power dynamic between Eliza and Rowan.
Mhm.
With, Eliza's the boss and pays Rowan, but Rowan's more knowledgeable or has more knowledge that's invaluable to Eliza and her kids. And I'm curious, like, how much time you spent kind of teasing out that dynamic and how you were going to find that balance versus what kind of just fell into place naturally.
I definitely had it in my head that I didn't want it to come across creepy. Like, I was very, in my head I'm like power dynamics are tricky. And I mean there are books where it isn't balanced, but it's still a good story, at the sometimes, and you have those, and that's that type of book. I didn't want that to be this type of book. I wanted it to be fair and you know, the balance to, as you said, kind of match. But I knew that. I didn't exactly know how I was going to do it though. I didn't really know what was going to get me there. So that kind of a lot of that came as I was writing, and I did go back and kind of fix some bits that um to add in more substance and stuff like that there. So, but it did come quite well, I think, as I was writing, because as you said, they both had like one was she needed the job, but I needed to be very clear that she didn't need the job. She needed it, but she wasn't completely reliant on it. It wasn't like, because to me, there's just no way for that to really work. If your livelihood is reliant on this thing, nothing else is going to matter in a power dynamic, personally.
Mhm.
So I needed to be clear that she had other options or that she had ways out. If she needed to. And then on the other side, to Eliza, her kids are more important than, potentially this fling or this whatever it might be in her head. Like her kids getting what they need, and it was very clear from the start, Rowan was what they needed. That was more important. So, a lot of it came as, naturally as it went. But it was just a thing in my mind. I was just very conscious of it as I was writing it.
I think it showed. I think the conclusion we all came to is um, that we really found that balance, and I don't recall hearing anyone say they got any icks about it, other than maybe initially Kaz is like, "Oh, how are you going to make that work?" But
Yeah,
you won her over real quickly. So
that's a win.
um,
And then there's also the switch in the bedroom, of course, like the power dynamic there, like to underline it again.
Yeah, and that was I mean, part of that was that, the power dynamic and kind of Rowan's cheeky way of getting around that. But the other part was just, I think it was really important for Eliza to be the one to be able to just let go. Because she couldn't in any other area of her life, and I think that became more prominent as it went on that Eliza needed to be able to do that. And that was kind of the trust. That was, a big thing for her.
You said a few times that while you were writing, things popped up. Are you a pantser or a planner?
I I would have always been a pantser, but the way it works with proposing my books now, I have to have some idea of what I'm going to do before I can propose it and get it signed off and stuff with the publisher. So that's kind of made me plan a bit more, but they never go to plan. So like my book never ends up what I've started it out as. Which I mean just happens. It's fine, but I think it's good. It's helped me to have kind of a general idea of what I want to do, and like I generally now will have the kind of things idea of what I want to hit or where the story is going, or somewhat where the story is going. But yeah, most of it will just come as I write. The in betweens and the main parts will come as I write.
You are with Bold Strokes, I think?
Yeah.
Are you is it a hard sell to sell your books or your story ideas like that and then change them? Is that difficult?
I don't tell them I'm changing them. I just submit it at the end and there you go.
Would you
No, I think it's fine. I think mainly they want you to propose something because they want to know you have a fleshed out idea, right? Before they give a contract. They want to know you kind of know what's going. At the very start, like my first, my second one that I put, because the first book I just sent in already done. The second book that I first proposed, there was a lot more back and forth and kind of really fleshing that out and have an idea. And then after that, I think they kind of trusted the process. So it was a little less intense and it's more like, here's my general idea of what I'm planning to do. They're getting shorter and shorter each time. And yeah, I think it's fine then, there might just be a bit of, oh, have you thought of this or what about this or, that kind of thing. But generally now It's very quick and easy.
Would you ever go indie? Would you ever do it yourself?
I would love to have the ability to do that. I worry I would have zero self-motivation. I worry that if I didn't have someone saying like I'm waiting on this or whatever, I just would be like, oh, I'll publish it sometime and never do it. So I think it's almost like that, and it's still self-motivation to a degree because I'm the one who sets the deadline, right? I tell them when I'm going to have it for, but then after that, it's like the people pleasing. I don't want to let them down. I've told them I'll have it for then and I'll get it. Whereas like if that's just me, I'm not sure that I would do it.
You wouldn't please yourself like that. If
Well,
you set your own deadline as a get your mind out of the gutter.
Listen, I
that's why
didn't
we're
say
all
it.
here.
Yeah.
Jade, your face said everything there.
Yes, yes, yes. Blame it on the Dutch. It's fine.
Mhm.
Okay, so you've written how many books are there now?
Five novels, and then I had a story novella as well.
Ooh, okay. So which one of your books are you most proud of?
That's a very hard question. Um, I think Truly Home would probably be the one. So that's my third and the final of my series. That's the one I think that like from start to finish just flowed and it just yeah, it was just cathartic almost. I think again that was one that started out very differently than it ended, but it was probably therapy for me a lot of that book. And it was I was a bit worried at the end. I was like, I don't know if there's enough, I don't know this. And I remember I sent it to my editor, and it was the one and only time my editor replied being like, I have very little to do here. Like it is perfect. And it was like her favorite of mine as well. And there was very, very little in terms of edits. There was no story edits. It was all just no standard edits. And it just came as it was. And that was it. And yeah, I was absolutely shocked then last year when it won the Goldie. It just didn't like it was very personal to me and amazing to me, but I didn't hear much about it, and I mean, I'm not the best at marketing, so I don't, I don't put a lot out there either. But when it won, and then people afterwards were talking to me about reading it and like, what it meant to them and things like that, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like it was really special. So yeah, I think out of all of them, that's the one that brings up those feelings for me.
And is there a book between those five, six, that if you could write it again, you would do it differently?
No, that would be way too much work.
It's like research jam.
I like it, that's part of why I'm a pantser, because if I plot the whole story, like there's a story that I had and I really loved the idea of, and I plotted the whole thing in my head, and I cannot write it for the life of me because like it's done, in my head. I
Yeah.
already wrote that story, so I'm not going to get any dopamine from writing that out on a page because I've completed it in my head. So I think that's why I need to leave those bits of unknowns for me to kind of do. So if I was going to rewrite anything, no. And I think, I mean, there's obviously my writing has evolved as I've gone, but each book was perfect for the story it was telling, you know.
Well, that's a great feeling, right? To not look back and
Absolutely,
think,
yeah.
lie
Yeah, no,
awake
it
at night
is.
going, oh, damn.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm lucky in that way that I don't have those, I don't regret any of it. I think it was exactly what it needed to be at the time. And like obviously I could look back and be like, "Oh, I could have written this better or I could have done that better," but like that's not where it was as a writer. And if anything, it's really cool to see the journey.
Sorry, also with the giveaway, going on at the same time. Um, I'm mindful of the time. Should we just make one person very happy now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Well,
that person me?
well, I hope so. Well, you're going to send it, so that's great. That's
Yes.
great. So I've asked you for a number between 0 and 50 for the signed copy of Sweet Surrender anywhere in the world, and we have a winner. I put 24, and Jane B won. She was closest with 17. So Jane, If you could send us an email at sapphic@gmail.com and we'll connect you to JJ and you can figure out where the book has to go. Yay! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Great, Jane. So JJ, just to wrap things up a little bit, if you can, I mean, we've met each other at GCLS,
Yeah.
um, and there are a lot of good books in the Sapphic community, especially the last 5, 10 years. What other authors inspire you, and why?
Oh, again,
Yes.
so many.
They
Yeah, a
won't be mad
ridiculous
if you
amount.
just if you miss them.
Yeah, I mean, they won't watch, it's fine. We have, I mean, look, I wouldn't, I would have to say originally it was Melissa Braden. I mean, I've read every single one of Melissa Braden's books, before I was writing. Well, not before I was writing, before I was publishing, let's say. Um, and I absolutely love her writing, just everything about it I love. And then I met her, and it's like, that thing where you meet someone who you've always kind of looked up to, and you're like, oh, this is weird. And then I was like, oh, she's also just a really genuinely nice person. So that was really nice. And we were chatting, and it was great. And yeah, so I think Melissa Braden has been great in inspiration. But then outside of that, I think the majority of the people that I would shout out are people who've just been lovely to me, and just been so welcoming and so kind. And obviously, Kristen Kepler is one of my favorite people in the world, and also has a book out this month. And yeah, she's just an amazing writer, but just genuinely lovely person. Um, and Lily Seabrook is a fantastic author. And we've connected a lot. So Lily's been great. And then Jamie Rose, who wrote a short story under Rose Goodwin. Um, yeah, I think that's, well, I mean, there's a million more, but I'll leave it there.
It's a good list. It is. Jade, do you have a final question for us?
I have a couple, but
Yeah, go.
the people want to know if there's going to be an audiobook.
I would love to answer that for you, but you will have to ask both strokes. I have no idea. I pretty much only listen to audiobooks now, so that's my main way of consuming stories. So I would absolutely love for there to be one, but I don't make the choice.
Fair
Bug
enough.
them.
Everybody send a message, ask bold strokes.
Okay.
Um, and then I guess my last question is what you're working on now. Like what can we see next from you?
Right now, I have nothing in the pipes for the first time in a while. It's the first time I've not had something either in editing or in writing. But I have a 1 year old, so it's been absolutely chaotic. I have lots of ideas, and I do have one actually that I did start a few months ago and just wrote one chapter and then never went back to it. But I think I may go back there. And yeah, that one is potentially about an audiobook narrator, actually. The idea was. So might get back to that, we'll see.
Well, it
Very
probably
cool.
will end up as a video editor when you're writing it.
Yeah, exactly. Something random.
Something else. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, I want to thank everyone. Thank you, JJ, for being with us today. Final question. If we haven't found you yet on all the socials and stuff, how can we find you and where do you hang out?
Uh, I occasionally remember to check Facebook, and generally Instagram or Threads, and it's all JJ Hale author.
That's
And I
easy.
have a website as well under JJ Hale author. So
.com.
yes, .com. That's a handy thing
Nothing,
to add.
nothing weird Irish.
No, it was
Good.
more expensive.
That's the best reason ever. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Happy Pride
Thank
once
you.
again. And of course, if you want to rewatch this, watch it on YouTube in a few days. It will be up there. And then grab your calendars and mark in your calendar July 18th, which will be our next book club. And that will be with Frankie Fire, Outplayed by Love, her Survivor book. which will be very awesome. So watch the all the ads on social media for the sign up sheet, and it will be okay. I wish everyone
Thank you.
a great Saturday. If you have more hours left than I do, and we'll see you next time. Bye.